Pleasure, mate. You're probably looking at this rather middle-aged fat git. And, no, not Andrew, me. And you're probably thinking to yourself, oh, he's a peer of the realm, where's his ermine? We're not the ones with the duck islands and the moats, okay? They're the ones who are the members of Parliament. We don't have to charge to have our moats cleaned. And you might be thinking, well, how does he end up as a patron of F1 in schools, and what does he know about motor racing? Let me take you back to a cross-channel ferry from Dover to Calais in 1968, in March 1968. I was 12, and we were going on a school trip, actually, to Belgium. And on that same cross-channel ferry that morning was a motor racing team going to participate in a Formula 2 event in Germany. And one of my heroes, who I'd only got his photograph on the wall in my bedroom, was on that cross-channel ferry, and I got his autograph. And he actually signed my bit of paper, but then he said, just a minute, and I'm not joking, this man turned around, he went off, he asked a few people, and he came back with a signed photograph. And 6 days later, Jim Clark was dead. And I have never forgotten that day. And to me, a hero died that day. And I kept that photograph, and I still got it today. And that had a lasting impression on me, that you can be the most important man in the world. He was world champion, probably the greatest racing driver of his time. And he had the time to give this little anonymous kid not just his autograph, but went back and got his photograph. And I've always thought to myself, anybody who actually achieves any form of greatness, to give time to young people is one of the greatest privileges you can ever have. And Lewis Hamilton coming here on Thursday, my friends, make the most of it, because that's exactly what he's doing. And then when I was a law student in University College London, where I did my law degree, and we all know the difference between a pelican and a lawyer, don't we? A pelican can't stick his bill up its bum. I've been spending all morning wondering whether I should say pelican. And if it wasn't for my wife at breakfast, you wouldn't have got bum either. Anyway, and I said to my girlfriend at the time, I was 19, and I said, come on, we're going to go and watch a Formula One race. And I went and saw my first Formula One race. We hitched, the two of us, down to Dover, went over to Zeebrugge, and we hitched to a place called Zandvoort, which is in all the sand dunes of Holland. They don't race there anymore. And we watched, we didn't know it, did we? I mean, we were just going to see a Formula One race. We actually saw the last private entry ever win a Grand Prix. His name was James Hunt, and he did it in a white racing car called a Hesketh. And we were there as he beat Niki Lauda into second place. And that, again, had the most amazing, lasting impression on me. And then when I was a lawyer in Birmingham and making a few bob, I actually bought a saloon car, a Sierra Cosworth, that had done the 24 hours down in New Zealand. And for a season, a mate and I raced it. That's a joke. Raced it? He raced it. I just sort of perambulated around looking at the scenery. And we actually took it over one day on a practice to the Nürburgring. And this is 13 miles long. And behind me, starting off one lap behind me, 13 miles each lap, right, was Mr. Coulthard in a similar car. He lapped me before the end of lap 2, which all goes to prove that his car was faster than mine. Anyway. And then came the job at the CBI and then the job as a minister, and that enabled me to go and see and indulge my passion for motor racing in some of the greatest circuits on earth. And one of my memories is to go just 3 weeks after 9/11 and to go to Indianapolis and to stand there and show America that the free world were with her and that we would not let terrorism stop us traveling and stop the peaceful pursuit of our ambitions. And I've never forgotten that day and watching the Indianapolis Grand Prix. And then whether it's been in the circuits of Europe or lucky enough to get to Istanbul or Shanghai, to see, and I use this in the proper use of the word, the circus of Formula One bring this excellence, this pursuit of excellence around the world has been the most enormous privilege. And therefore, to be a patron of F1 in schools to me was a privilege in itself, but also one of the easiest decisions I ever made. You see what we have to do in difficult times, and there isn't anybody from any country in the world here this morning whose country isn't experiencing worse times than they were 2 years ago. What we have to do is ensure that our young people make friends across borders that last a lifetime. Because people who talk to each other, people who understand each other, people who trade with each other, don't tend to go to war with each other. They don't tend to do nasty stuff because they've got some skin in the game of tomorrow. And if this project, if these championships can do anything, it is that when you get back on your planes or in your cars at the weekend, I want you, every one of you, please don't go home without at least 5 phone numbers and addresses from people who, when you started last weekend, you'd never heard of. And then please work at keeping in touch. As you grow and develop, you're going to have loads of influences on not keeping in touch. Of course you are. But just keep writing and emailing, just keep calling. Every time as your jobs, whatever you do, take you to anywhere, look them up. Because people who talk, communicate, and trade just build a more peaceful world. And that is in the interests of all of us. And F1 in schools matters. If I told you there are 31 teams taking part in 20 countries, that's fabulous for something that this is just the 5th World Championship. Something that matters enormously to me is 35% of all F1 in school students are female. That, and especially in some countries, is so important that we actually ensure that women in this world are not just equal in lip service, but equal in what we do. And this is another way in which we can achieve that. 66% of all students in F1 in schools actually want to become engineers or scientists. And at the same time, 80% of them actually realize that it's going to do wonders for their communication and team building schools. 12,500 schools registered to take part this year. You, my friends, are very, very special. The number of schools aware that it exists is over 40,000, and the number of students who are aware that this exists in the world is over 14 million. My God, you're special. Now, what we have to do is by Thursday get a winner. That's your job, not mine. Thank heavens. But do remember this: if you win this, you wouldn't have won it if others hadn't got the courage and guts to take part. And when you get back on your planes and you go home, if you go home with the trophy, I hate you. If you go home with the trophy, do remember that you're very lucky. Yes, you're the best, but you're also very lucky, because if it wasn't for all the others here, then you would never have been able to win anything. And do me one favor, whether you come first or if you actually don't come in the top few, whatever you do, when you go home, steep down, round and under, someone for whom this is just completely out of their scope. People who think that this has all passed them by. People who think that really this isn't for them. And just excite them and inspire them with the thrill of winning, with the thrill of participation, and with the thrill of making friends. Because if you win, or if you come in the top few, actually you've taken on a responsibility. The graciousness of winning is all about doing it for someone else. That's what Jim Clark did for me. And engineering matters because if all our countries are going to get themselves out of this economic downturn, they're going to trade their way out of it. They're going to earn overseas currency, they're going to employ people at home, they're going to make stuff which other people want to buy. Whether it is an A380, whether it's an aircraft, whether it's a ship, whether it's a motor car, whether it's a phone. This world is going to get out of this by making stuff. And to do it, you need engineers. You, my friends, are on the threshold of getting a ticket which will last you a lifetime. It's international. There's no problem with language. You can go anywhere with an engineering ticket, succeed and make money. And if F1 in Schools does anything, it sets you on that path. So I wish you all the very best. Have the most fabulous time. Enjoy it. And we, the home of over 2/3 of all the Formula One teams that participate. Britain, the home of providing the engineers that build half of every Airbus that ever flew. Remember that? Every Airbus you ever get on in the world, half of it was built in Britain. The wings in Broughton in North Wales, the undercarriages in Gloucester, the avionics down in Bristol, and underneath the wings, the greatest aero engines that were ever made, Rolls-Royce made in Derby. Now, the Germans, they make the fuselage. Not a lot of technology in a fuselage, really. And the French screw it together. But the bit that gets you up there, the bit that keeps you there, and the bit that brings you down again, all made in my country. So you might think that all we do is have banks. I've got news for you. We make things bloody well as well. And so I obviously hope the trophy stays in Britain, but more than that, whoever wins it, I just congratulate you. I thank you for coming to my home country. I wish you all the very best in the world, and God bless. Thank you. And now, it gives me very, very great pleasure to declare the 2009 and 5th World Championships of F1 in Schools open.